Hello, my name's Mr. Gardner. I'm the head of the media department at the King John School and Sixth Form. Today I'm going to tell you about one of the courses that we offer at Key Stage 5, and that is our Film Studies A-Level. Now, I'm sure some of you are watching this now and you're looking at all of the courses that are offered at the Sixth Form, and you might be struggling to choose which ones to do out of the many choices there are available. So for you, I guess the primary question is going to be, why should I choose Film Studies? Well, my answer to that would be, why wouldn't you want to? It's an incredible course. It's something that I'm very passionate about. And what we're looking for is students that are similarly passionate about films. And that might be that you love watching films either at the cinema or at home, that you enjoy discussing films with family and friends or maybe online, that you enjoy reading about films. That could be magazines like Empire, Sight and Sound, maybe textbooks, or again, you might enjoy going online and reading about films on your favourite film websites. Or it could just be that you're incredibly passionate about making films. You might want to learn how to write a screenplay, how to shoot and edit a short film. Perhaps that's something that you're already doing in your spare time. If so, then Film Studies would be a fantastic choice for you. When planning the course, it's really important for me to introduce students to as wide a range of films as possible. So we've deliberately chosen films from lots of different eras, all the way from the 1920s up to 2015. We look at films made from all over the world, so of course we look at Hollywood films, but we also look at British films, films from Spain and Brazil. But also we're really interested in studying different types of films. So we'll look at mainstream Hollywood movies, but we're also looking at things like independent films, silent movies, experimental films and documentary. And in terms of what you'll learn and what skills you'll develop whilst you're doing the course, Film Studies is a course which primarily teaches you to be analytical and to develop that as a skill. But also, because quite a lot of the assessment is based on writing long answers, you will be able to improve your essay writing skills. In addition to those, you'll be developing things like creativity through the practical elements of the course, debating skills where we have class discussions and you might be asked to argue a side of something that maybe you don't particularly agree with, but for the sake of that discussion, we're encouraging you to think about those other sides. We learn how to do research and how to do presentations, which you'll deliver to the class. And also you'll learn a range of digital technologies such as film editing software and script writing software. And I think one thing that might surprise people who haven't studied film before is the amount of ground we cover when we look at a film. So the exam board have actually set out specific specialist study areas. So for example, we look at ideology, and when we study a film we could be considering what ideological messages and values it might be communicating to the viewer. For example, is it a feminist film or is it a misogynistic film? Similarly, we might be looking at contextual factors and how maybe a country's history is reflected in a film. So when we study the film Pan's Labyrinth, we actually spend quite a bit of time learning about Spain's history and about the Spanish Civil War and how that is reflected and discussed in that film. And if this was a regular open evening, it wouldn't just be me speaking to you. We would normally have quite a few students here where you could ask them questions, and I think it's really important to get their perspective. So in place of that, what I've done is I've asked a couple of students to record their testimonials about the course, and I will play them for you now.
Film Studies is a course that really makes you appreciate a wide array of films, from foreign films to classical Hollywood. There is something for everyone throughout the 2 years, and by the end you will be shocked to realise how much you've learnt because you're too busy enjoying it.
I like this course as it expands my knowledge as a film lover, and it's great to be around like-minded people.
Film wasn't one of my original subjects to choose, but I'm so glad I did. Learning new things every day about the aspects of filmmaking is really inviting, and the course is never dull.
Film is a lot of fun. It links into my subjects perfectly, teaching me things I need to know for my other subjects. It has given me wider knowledge of the world of film, and it is all really interesting.
In terms of our success as a department and as a subject, I'm very proud of the outstanding grades that we get year on year. This year we're predicted to get 75% A star to B and 100% A star to C, which would place us in the top 10% of the country in terms of our progress. Previously we achieved 90% A star to B, 100% A star to C, and again we were in the top 10% of the country in terms of our progress data. As a result of this, quite a lot of our learners do go on to study at university, and many of them do choose a film-based degree. In terms of enrichment, we're very keen on how students can learn how things work in the industry. So we've had visits from professional scriptwriters. Last year we had Richard Curti come in to talk to our students. He gave a lecture on script writing, and then afterwards he spent some time reading through student scripts and giving them feedback. We've also set up work experience opportunities for our students. So in the last year, quite a few of our students actually went to help out on the set of a locally produced film. And typically we run an annual trip to Hollywood, and this gives students the opportunity to visit the Warner Brothers studio, Universal Studios, the New York Film Academy, but also to visit famous landmarks and places that are featured in feature-length films. So, for example, we go to the Griffith Observatory, which features in Rebel Without a Cause, and also in La La Land. Now, we'll have to see whether the travel restrictions are eased off in time for October 2021, but all being well, we do plan to run that trip next year. For specific entry requirements, there are just the general ones that you would need to study A-levels at sixth form, but we also specify that students need to achieve at least a grade 4 in GCSE English Literature. The reason for that being is that quite a lot of the course is made up of analysis, so in the same way that you would analyse a book or a short story or a poem, we're doing exactly the same thing, but we're just looking at films and short films. And also quite a lot of GCSE English Literature will be formulating your responses in long written answers, and again that is the primary method of assessment with the exams at the end of year 13. In terms of how the course is assessed, it's split between exams and a non-examined assessment, or otherwise known as coursework. I'll talk to you about the exams first of all. There are 2 exam papers which you'll sit at the end of year 13. They're both worth 35% each, so that's 70% overall is determined by your exams. Leading up to the end of year 13, when you sit the exams, we'll be doing lots of practice papers, looking over previous exam responses and looking over previous exam questions. And in those exams, you'll be asked to write about 11 films in total. At the moment, the 11 films that we are studying are Vertigo, Blade Runner, No Country for Old Men and Winter's Bone, Trainspotting and This Is England, Pan's Labyrinth and City of God, the documentary film Amy about the singer Amy Winehouse, Sunrise, and finally Pulp Fiction. And the topics that are split over those 2 exams are as follows: Hollywood comparison, American film since 2005, British film since 1995, global film, documentary, silent film, and finally experimental film. And the coursework makes up the other 30% of your grade, and for that you have 2 options. So for the production part of the coursework, you can either choose to write a screenplay of 1800 words accompanied by a digital storyboard, or if you would prefer, you can make a short film which needs to be between 4 and 5 minutes in length. To accompany either the screenplay or the short film, you'll need to write what's called an evaluative analysis. Again, this is an essay approximately 1800 words, and that is where you discuss your film in relation to short films that you have chosen from a list of set films by the exam board EDUCAS. We begin the coursework at the end of year 12 through into the summer, and then we finish it in the early part of year 13. There will be practice runs on screenplay writing and using cameras and editing software in year 12 though as well. In terms of the complementary subjects that would go well with the Film Studies A-level, I would recommend one of the ones that we also offer at Key Stage 5 in our department. So we have the Media Studies A-level, or we have the Creative Digital Media Production in Film and Television, which is a BTEC, and that takes up 2 subjects on your timetable. If you're looking for a bit more variety, I could also recommend English Literature for the reasons mentioned before, where you're developing analysis and essay writing skills. I also think creative subjects go quite well with film studies, so photography, for example, would be really useful for the practical element of the course. But as I mentioned previously, film is a subject which covers a wide range of topics, so you would be perfectly fine to study alongside something like history or, say, sociology. Those things go very well with films, and in that way it's quite a universal subject, I think. If there is anything that you would like to know that I haven't covered in this video, then I'd encourage you to go check out the school's website, and you can click on Film Studies and do some reading about that. You can also look at the curriculum maps for Year 12 and Year 13. Or if you'd rather speak to somebody, if you could just ring up the school, leave your name and number and email and ask to speak to me, Mr. Gardner, Head of Media Department, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can to answer any questions that you might have. So I hope that video has given you a nice overview of what the course is about and that you are interested in choosing film studies as a result. Thank you very much.